Fruit of the Spirit, sweetness in every season. By contrast, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against such things. Galatians 5:22-23.
Thank you. So, Karen, I wanted to talk about the fruits of the Spirit with you this morning. And I wanted to talk specifically about love and contrast that with anger and resentment. And I wondered, do you have any experience with feeling angry or resentful in your life?
Well, of course. I think anyone would be remiss in saying no to that question. I think that we all experience those times that anger becomes forefront. It replaces all of the things we just talked about in Galatians. It takes over.
And anger is a daily, normal, even healthy emotion to feel.
Right.
God gave us anger.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we do with our anger? That's the question.
We probably all react somewhat in the same ways because we get highly emotional. We probably, hand out behavior that we really might wish we hadn't. Behave in ways that are I've lost control, and therefore this is what I'm doing. Back to this, the fruits of the Spirit. I was thinking about it just last night again, and those are all such wonderful properties that we have been given. They are
Virtues,
such gifts. And all of that just goes awry if I become so angry and so consumed with hatred or the inability to deal with whatever it is that has just absolutely ignited me, that I'm not going to have any of that. I'll have no peace of mind, no way of navigating through the day in any acceptable manner. Certainly not thinking about the way I should behave or how I want to behave or how I have been all of a sudden misunderstood in my behavior, that kind of thing. But I am absolutely sure that God wants us to be happy. He gave us this life. What a gift. He gave us this life, and he throughout the Bible talks about wanting us to enjoy it, wanting us to be fruitful, wanting us to have all these virtues that are mentioned here as the fruits of the Spirit. He wants us to have all of those things. If I'm so consumed with just blowing my stack and being completely out of control because of anger, I will not have any of that. It'll all be off the wall.
So in some ways, anger diminishes your capacity to experience the other fruits of the Spirit, like love.
Right.
What triggers your anger?
Sometimes it's just an impulse. Sometimes I just hear the wrong thing, or I hear the right thing on television from a friend, from someone I don't know well. How do we really know that? But whatever enters my mind, if I'm all of a sudden just easily irked by that or easily angered, then I'm going to have a problem. But I associate anger with fear. And I've done quite a bit of study on this because I've been very, very angry at times in my life. It doesn't serve me well. I know that. Something about me is being threatened. I'm either maybe afraid that I'm going to lose something that I already have, or I'm afraid I'm not going to get something I think I deserve. And don't we all have those kinds of feelings? And that produces fear.
Yeah.
Because how am I going to make that happen? And maybe I'm not going to make that happen. Fear of the unknown. People who are faced with grave illnesses don't know what's going to happen. And that produces all kinds of fear. That would be something that they are afraid they're going to lose. Maybe their life, maybe their health.
Right, right. And so then they become angry at the doctor, or at the health system, or at the environment that they grew up in, or what have you. Yeah. So how do you transform anger and resentment as a person of faith? How do you grow from that experience of anger and move to something that's more life-giving?
My actual personal experience with that is one of the biblical passages that I've learned to go to and to turn to, and I've done it for a long time now, and that is be still and know that I am God.
That's from the Psalms.
Right. And that's a little plaque on my living room wall, and I found that to be life-saving, life-giving, because first of all, it isn't so much about me thinking I'm God, but it's first of all, be still. If I'm not able to just collect myself into some acceptable manner of behavior for a few minutes, I'm not going to be able to move from there. I'm going to be paralyzed in fear. I'm going to be paralyzed in anger and start behaving in angry ways. So the first thing I have to do is to calm myself, and I've learned that I can do that by paying attention to that psalm. Be still. One of my good friends says that often. When she sees me ramping up, she'll just say, "Be still."
Yeah.
And then the rest, and know that I am God. It's about putting me back in some sort of a perspective that I can deal with whatever it is at the moment, or at least calm down enough to think clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm quick to anger. I admit that. I think most of us are in some instances.
Yeah. We can tend to be reactive people, where we react instead of respond. But if we listen to that psalm, be still and know that I am God, we think about, well, what do I have control over in this scenario? What am I fearful about? You know, where is my agency in the midst of this? And maybe you don't have any. Maybe you don't have any control. Maybe it's all fear. And so hearing those comforting words from the Psalms, be still and know, it's just a reminder that instead of being triggered by the anger, be triggered by the love of God who is with you.
Right.
And you can take a deep breath, and you can zoom out and get that bigger perspective.
It usually takes me right back to what I just said a minute ago, and that's that I am convinced that we are on this earth to enjoy life, that God wanted us to give us this gift, to be able to have us be able to get along with each other, to help each other, to love each other. Not what we're regularly seeing all over the planet.
Right. Right.
So in my own little world, in my own little mind, I can kind of round that up. Just personally for me,
Yeah.
I probably can't do it for the whole world, or even the whole town, or even my whole family. But I can help get myself in a space that's acceptable, and to be able to live in a peaceful manner.
Yeah. I think you're right. You can't transform your whole family or the whole community of Marshall or the whole world. But I do think there's a ripple effect, because the more that we work on ourselves, the more that we're in touch with our own anger and resentment, the more we want to transform that. That tells a story to the world. That sets an example and offers a different way to live. So
You mentioned the word resentment, which
let's talk about resentment.
anger might come and go quickly. That resentment, I'm a word person. I love the study of the English language, and resentment. Re means to do it again. Send is to send the message. And the person that I'm sending the message to is me. I'm resending that anger over and over and over. And that has the ability to kill me. That has the ability to kill me. I'll be consumed with that anger that maybe didn't start out like that. You know, it will turn on me, and all of a sudden it might be the point that the issue at hand isn't even the issue anymore. I've just become this rage of a person, and I don't think that I actually have become a raging person as in running around just being rageful in my backyard or in my living room or at other people, but inside me.
You can feel it in your spirit.
Inside me. I think of the word seethe. You know, there are people that I've seen that are seethingly angry, and that's you know, that's when anger gets to the point of that. But sometimes I think the resentment doesn't show as demonstrably as anger. It's just working away on my very being, on my soul. It will destroy my soul. It will destroy my relationship with this Creator, with this God, to the point that I'm just this shell of a human being that's just filled with rage. That, again, but we're back to these fruits of the Spirit that God would like us to have. I'm not going to be capable of that.
Right. So how, if you feel destroyed by your anger and resentment, how do you begin to rebuild and nurture something that is joyful and hope-filled and life-giving?
Well, it's a process, you know. I have to be able to sit down, you know, maybe by myself at first, and think over the situation that has just consumed me. One event in my life comes to mind, and I have worked through that and come out of that on the other side of that I never thought would happen, and that's that I was presented with the idea of a divorce. And it was a surprise. It had not been spoken about. And I was, first of all, hurt beyond belief, immediately angry, and you. And I looked at every single part of him that wasn't right. And eventually I got around to being able to see where there were reasons that he probably was right. I never thought I would admit that in the beginning because I was hurt, and resentment did climb in. And, you know, our immediate reaction, gut reaction maybe to those kinds of things are to hit back. You know, the things that we learned in kindergarten and first grade not to do, you know, the name calling, you know, you hit me, so I'm going to hit you back is not the answer. You know, I could just, and I manipulated the whole situation because it was presented to me as a surprise, so I used that against him. And, you know, the flip side of that was he may not have thought that he had any choice other than to do that way. But to navigate through that, you know, I had to do that. I did do, again, what I mentioned earlier, is be still. Sit down, gather your thoughts over many days, a lot of period of time. But I was able to finally start to look at my part in that and realize that this was a 50-50 proposition, this marriage, that certainly didn't start that way. It started like any young couple in love and having all kinds of hope for the future, and having created these two children, these two wonderful children, and it just fell apart in ways that destroyed it. And there was no bringing that back at one point, so it needed to end, and we both grew from that at one point and another. There was anger, there was resentment, there was every emotion that I think human beings can experience. But by again going back to this idea that, well, okay, God, you know, what am I doing here? And how can I be helped? How can you help me? What, you know, and I, you know, I remember thinking to myself, oh, I'm not getting the answer. I'm also a little bit, you know, I want it right now.
There's theologian by the name of Henry Nouwen who talks about what it means to be a wounded healer. And that is an idea that if you have been through an experience in your life and you have healed from it, you've grown from it, you've been transformed by it, then you become humbled, you become changed, and you become someone who can testify to that experience, who can show others how that they can get through. You can be a mentor and a role model and a guide for folks. Do you ever find yourself in that position, Karen, where you're mentoring folks who are angry, who are resentful, who are seething with anger, and helping them transform that experience?
Well, I'm certainly willing. I think so many things go into that question you just asked. Am I the right person in that situation? You know, I do have experience to share. I try really hard not to say, you should.
Mm-hmm.
I try to say, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
And this is how I navigated through that. On the other hand, I have to keep myself on some kind of a plane that is an example that I can do what I say. You know, most of us have all kinds of aspirations of how we want to behave and how we do things, and but is my life showing that I am doing what I say I believe? Am I trying to be helpful? Am I trying to live the way I think God wants me to live? And that's to be, you know, a citizen of the world, to try to be helpful, to try to do what I can, you know, not to be better than. That's why I said citizen of the world, not the king of the heap, you know, and certainly not not about it being an expert at life.
So, Karen, you've mentioned you have a favorite prayer by St. Francis of Assisi. Will you share that prayer with us?
Sure. So this is what it says. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
So what's your favorite line in that prayer?
I guess where there is hatred, let me sow love. You know, and that sounds kind of schmaltzy, like I can go out and spread love like the hippies and all that other stuff. You know, but there is so much of the hatred and anger and resentment that we see on our, you know, on a daily basis here.
Yeah.
In our world and in our town and in our families. And it's just good if I'm reminded to ask God to help me be more that way, to be more of the giver than the taker.